You asked me like, how has your journey been? I think it's all about taking risks, seeing opportunities, and really seeing what's out there. The chief of staff profession is very close to me because it's all about strategic operations, strategic initiatives, and strategic communications. By the time you're getting a seat at the table, you've already done the basics right. I mean, the degree is just supposed to give you like a very solid foundation into how the world out there is. I mean, if you're a founder, co-founder, and you're still thinking about the idea, please just run with it.
Hello everyone and welcome to yet another episode of the After Hours segment in partnership with Tanqueray. Today you should be familiar with where we are, but if you're not, we are at the Art Cafe Gastro Bar, which is a lovely location for you to be coming in and ordering some of your Tanqueray based drinks. Aside from having such an amazing guest join us, and that is Laban-Cliff Onserio, I will give him a chance to introduce himself in a minute. We are also having amazing drinks. So the name of the cocktail that I'm currently having is the Blush Lady. Do you remember what cocktail you're having?
The Pink Lagoon.
Exactly. And so if you're looking to have great times and great hits after hours, make sure that you're not only having it at Art Cafe Gastro Bar, but you are also ordering the Tanqueray based cocktails. We always push for responsible drinking, guys. And so while you're having a good time, make sure you're drinking water, you're hydrating. Before we had these cocktails, we also had some things to bite. We just wanted to spare you your ears and your time when we're eating at the same time having this conversation. But yeah, that being said, Laban, thank you so much for gracing my invite.
Thank you so much, Alice, for having me. Good to be here.
Good to have you as well. Yeah. Maybe we can start by having you introduce yourself, Laban. Tell us a bit more about you and what you do.
Well, it's great to be here, and for the honor as well. I am honored to be here. Great space. Never thought like we could have such a good ambience here at Art Cafe. So thanks for having us as well. So rightfully, as you said, Laban-Cliff, I always like to reflect on, the stuff that I've done or the journey that I've come and what it has taken. But I think it's just all about taking risks, seeing opportunities out there, and trying to really go over and beyond what is presented to you. As you can tell, I started out from, I've like working for one of America's largest infrastructure company, that's General Electric. From GE, moved into media at CNBC. Then after CNBC, I went into Nation and then went into government. And after government, now I'm trying to figure out this space where it's all about strategic relations, strategic management. And that's why, you asked me like, how has your journey been? I think it's all about taking risks, seeing opportunities, and really seeing what's out there. And then, of course, right now we're talking about my tech story, Africa. It's all about how do I infuse technology, even as I think about, this management consulting, strategic consulting side of mine. So yeah, been quite a journey career-wise. But, for fun, I enjoy my motorsports. I'm happy to announce I'll be going back to the WRC racing. So check out for our car with Gideon Kimani. She'll be in the rally car, back again after sort of a 2-year hiatus. I used to help out in the motorsport management, but now I'm happy that I'll be in the cockpit. Family, I'm married with 3 children. Those kids give me a reason to wake up every morning. So, yeah.
Really happy to hear. You've said a wealth of things.
So I was trying to just
squeeze them into everything, to compress them.
But I'll write a book. I'll write a book on my project.
Before we write the book, we want to hear the story here,
Sure.
live and direct. So
Sure.
when you say that, okay, you started here and then you went into media before you got into government, just give us a brief overview of what that journey was like to get to where you are today. Based on our conversations, I know you have experience being chief of staff over time at the moment, and you're currently also doing you did your executive MBA recently. You're currently still doing a course in the National
Defense College.
Defense College.
Yep.
Thank you so much. When I was going to listen, Laban is a lot of things, and I was trying to and have all the titles in my mind.
Yes.
But I just want to hear from you what that journey was like.
So I originally, you always have to check, where did this guy come from? What's his background like? I mean, I'm proper Nakuru born bred. I'm happy about my background because it gives me such humility to know that I'm not really a city boy. So I've come to Nairobi very focused, very clear about what I want to achieve in the capital. So being from Nakuru, ideally from the periphery, and this is something we're researching, I feel like Nairobi is being run a lot by a lot of Nakuru folks. For some strange reason. Are you a Nairobi girl?
I am a Nairobi girl. City girl. Guilty.
nothing against those born bred in the city, but ideally it's just the fire in the belly. I consider myself having that. Why? Because of being in Strath, it gave me an opportunity to get into student politics, network with the lecturers very early, and network with my classmates, network with the MBA class. Remember, Strath has a very good, again, MBA program. And at the time when I was there is when they were starting it. So I had a chance also to interact with executives very early in my life, I would say, not even my career, my student life.
Why do I feel like we had two different Strathmore experiences? Because
Yes.
I was there
Recently,
to go for my classes and leave. But to be fair, I was a victim of COVID uni at some point.
For some point. So
So-
those are 2 years online. So
Literally.
not to worry, you can still go back to your masters. But I feel like also having the student center there helped you a great deal.
Yes.
Because there's a bit of that networking, just the student interaction, which is something that I, sort of missed because we didn't have the student center. But, we would meet during the sports events and what have you. So you asked me like how my journey has been. I'll say it all started from Strath. So Strath really gave me the basis. Strath gave me the opportunity. And I am here because, the fire in the belly. Thanks to Nakuru, Strathmore, and now corporate Kenya.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I really like that you've said that. I think for those who are fortunate enough to go to universities or have that foundation, I would say 50-50. There are those who are fortunate enough to be able to have the capacity to, be able to be as involved as you seem to have been, but also being able to be one of the students who take that initiative
You have
to ask the right questions, meet the right people, to set that foundation for you. I would say that that is where I didn't get enough.
Yeah.
I didn't dip my feet too much in the Strathmore waters, but I'll just use the excuse of it was COVID uni. But even in second year when it wasn't COVID uni, I wasn't as involved, but I was very involved in the real-time interactions. I had, started being hired from my second year of uni.
Nice.
And so, yeah,
It's
really
never too
happy.
late. I mean,
It's
there are
never
all these
too late.
programs, people go back to owner management program, your
Exactly.
advanced sort of a diploma program. So I honestly feel that it's never too late.
It's never too late.
especially as an alumnus. And I'm part of the
Yes.
Strathmore Alumni Network.
Yes.
There are all these events that happen. And trust me, I think, you check out the
What's
Strathmore
going
Connect,
on.
which is like our alumni page. I mean, there's definitely a Strathmore alumni across the world. So
Yes.
you just have to go out there and just see what's up.
And you know what?
Yeah.
You do meet, so even if I was
Yes.
silent, the same people you meet are from the unis that
Yes.
you've come from.
Yes.
And for some reason, it makes such a bigger impact as an
Yes.
adult when you meet someone who you went to the same uni with
Yep.
than in the moment when you're
Yep.
with them.
Yep.
And so, again, networking is the light conversations are the ones that make the bigger impact.
And that helps.
Yeah,
that
exactly. But from, your career over time has spanned from business, journalism to government advisory, all the way to a global body of chief of staff, which I presume is your current role. What common threads would you say connect you into this different kind of diverse roles that you've been working in?
I should put a caveat out there. For once, I thought I was all over the place, like in GE, everyone wants to work for America's largest infrastructure company. There's, CNBC, you want to work for a top media house. Then you go into government, particularly in the office of the president. Then someone says, okay, so you moved in from private sector to media, and I wouldn't mind going into the United Nations. But it's critical to advise that in this day and age, you can't afford to be linear. And I got that advice from somebody who was telling me like, hey, by the way, it's okay to have gone in and done your BCom, or done your comms at Strath, but you also need to inculcate something else over and above your career. So that's why I'm trying to make up sort of a mashup into what I have, into this strategic, manager, somebody who can be behind a CEO. And that's the reason why the chief of staff profession is very close to me, because it's all about strategic operations, strategic initiatives, and strategic communications. Now, all these three things actually infuse into what I've done over time. So that if you're sitting with a CEO, you're sitting behind a president, or you're sitting behind a cabinet secretary, or a United Nations under secretary, you can be able to advise based off on your experience in corporate, media, and now with military as well. Strategy actually comes from the military. So I'm also trying to learn from the military how exactly they, look at situations, So it's pretty interesting. The learning never stops. So I'm happy that I thought for once that, hey, I might be missing the mark, like trying to be in different industries. But I think with technology, and I think you cover this a lot, you cannot afford to be linear. I got this word from a friend of mine. It's called career lattice, where as you go along, there's just a way that, when the dots are all over the place, and then you look for the fine line, exactly what you can achieve. So that career lattice is what is needed in the world today, you know, where you can be multi-skilled,
Just to emphasize a bit on what we're discussing here, you seem to have a different school of thought than a lot of people, which is that, okay, eventually I need to specialize in what it is that I am pursuing. And I'm trying to understand throughout your journey, the fear that either you must have or did not have moving from one place to another, because even just moving from your first job and trying to figure out, especially for the young people, okay, this is good, maybe I want to explore something new. How do you get yourself to the next step? So was it, for your personal experience, was it the networking that got you the different opportunities? I mean, how did you manage to convince people who, okay, this is what your specialty is, but I can still be able to do this in this particular role, as you moved across the different industries that you've worked in?
I mean, let's face it, by the time you're getting a seat at the table, you've already done the basics right. I mean, the degree is just supposed to give you like a very solid foundation into how the world out there is, There's actually a meme I think my brother shared on Instagram. It's like, you go into this corporate job and they said, we will not need your degree, from this day forward. And then there was a joke that, hey, I just did a diploma. It's like, no, then you're not qualified for the job. So yes, they say that, your degree will not help you through your job, but it's a basis. It's a basis to start. So for me, I would really advise any person who's out there, just first of all, get the basics right. If it's about that get it out of the way. If it's about, that, BSc, comms, IT, get it out of the way. Then now try and see, okay, what else can I infuse in this degree to make it? Like say, for instance, I know given a chance, I would have done the SCCA. Not in any bad way, but SCCA would help me now when I'm starting my own company to get the financials right.
Yes.
Because you need to make sure your financials are good.
The downfalls of someone in the media entrepreneurship space. I'm telling you, I'm
so
on
if you're
calls every day trying to
to
understand it too.
You have to, the balance, the debit, credit, you have to just get it.
Yeah.
And you might know of it, but it's good to have the qualification. And you can do it together with your degree program. That's on one front. There's a bit about like, okay, can I do a work study program? So when I'm doing my 4-year course, whatever uni, and I don't want to, I've mentioned Strath, I mentioned about USIU because I also did my MBA there. There's the perfect work study program there, where you can say, okay, cool, I'm in my 4-year course, but I also have a 4-year part-time work study.
Yes.
So when you're graduating, you're steps ahead from your colleagues who were just like, you know what, I don't care about this work study thing. Let me just do my degree and then that's it. But you're utilizing your free time in school to add on to your, like what you really want to.
What you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a really good piece of advice that you've given us. Taking it back into correlation to the tech industry or just technology in general, not just the industry. How would you say that technology has impacted the different places that you've worked in and or transformed perhaps in media? For example, right now we are recording on Tanqueray Africa, which is a podcast that is going to be published on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you're listening from. You should be subscribing.
Oh, yeah.
But aside from that, I know we come from different worlds where you have your background in working with CNBC and Nation Media Group and KTN. You have a podcast as well, which, forgive me for forgetting the name, but yeah.
Coming
so I
soon,
just
drum rolls. Yeah, really inspired by what you're doing, which is great. Out of the box thinking. Look at us in a very beautiful space, and just trying to really get the story out.
Yes.
For a long time, people wait for the 9 o'clock news to make sure that they can get the story. You're doing it on the digital platforms where, thanks to your phone, smartphones, feature phones, you can literally get the news as you go along. So that's what I've seen over time. And I'm grateful that I had a first-hand perspective on this because thanks to the Nation Media Group, I was sponsored for a course in the UK to go and just study about the future of media. So for a long time, we knew that not many people are going to read the newspapers. If you look at the newspaper circulation numbers, it's really dwindling over time.
Yes.
So definitely the future is digital. With Tanqueray Africa and with what I'm telling you about right now, of course, it's the Headhunter Africa, which is a podcast just kind of infuses my sort of, because everyone would ask me, like, how do I get to GE? How do I get my talent right? So I'm thinking that podcast will have a good basis to start. So it's good. Get online, subscribe, check out what you can get for people to actually get the news as they go along. That's the future, and the future is here. You used to talk about it like it's coming soon, but it's here and now. Yeah.
But now, from your perspective, really and truly, what are the nitty-gritties of the impact of that has made? Do you see, obviously, maybe it could mean that there's a deterioration in the consumption of the other forms of media? Would you say, in your personal opinion, that it's better to focus on this and leave the other behind? How can we create a space that can marry both schools of thought of the traditional way of doing things and the modern way of doing things, and not just in media, even in whether it's in government and it's in policy, or whether it's in managing teams and management consultancy? Of course, having background in a bit of both, or living in both eras, so to say. Where is the gap, and what are some of the changes that you've noticed, and challenges as well as the benefits
so as I said,
from that?
The future is now, and the future is here. The idea will be to inculcate, what is really happening on the digital front, and with technology together with because again, technology in this part of the world has really moved so fast, not complementing the policy perspective. So we also need the policy angles or the policy elements to sort of catch up with, the perfect story of the M-Pesa and the regulator and what's really happening. So personally, I think I want to use a mashup, or I want to use kind of a merger, or sort of between the old and the new of the media, of the two media fronts. My bet and my top advice is, if there's a chance to actually have, and this is actually being spoken about a lot together with the AI conversation and stuff, because even with AI tools, you need a lot of the basis and the background. You need to feed information. Even with ChatGPT, you need to feed information, and there has to be a basis of where you're getting the reference from. So personally, it's not like, it's those guys and us guys. If there's an opportunity to collaborate, speaking from a media front, it's like, okay, yeah, we're moving from a lot dwindling newspaper circulations to like a lot more digital platforms. But at the same time, we need to make sure that the newspaper writer can actually be very comfortable hosting Tanqueray Africa, so that they're not quite thinking about day two journalism or to break the news in tomorrow's paper or tomorrow's paper. They can actually break the news live. They can break it as we go along.
Wow, I like that school of thought.
So yeah, it's and there's just a lot of, and to be honest, if somebody forgets that whole perspective, it's a lot on the mindset shift and just taking the risk. Because at times people say, no, that's not my thing. I really don't want to go there. But it is the future. It's where people are going. It's where the audiences are moving. And if you can just do that, make hay while the sun still shines.
Oh, that's a really good parting shot. I remember listening to a podcast by one of my mentors, Andile Masuku, recently. He was having a conversation with a journalist who I think is from Zambia. Zimbabwe, sorry. And why I'm bringing this up is because in the conversation they're both media personalities, like both me and you are. The contrast of the traditional, obviously them worked at BBC, whatever, the traditional media versus the new media, and sort of pushing for media entrepreneurship innovation, in that, okay, as we're trying to figure out what a merger might look like between both schools of thought, perhaps innovation comes into play. And I just, as an encouragement to anyone in media or in the tech space or just in general in business, it's not a bad idea to think about innovative ways that might have not been thought about in terms of how to grow, because people might say, okay, we want to come to digital media, or rather, from my interactions, there are people who are a bit abrasive to move to the other side. Because they're wondering, okay, aside from influencing, what else can you do? But I think a platform like My Tanqueray Africa, for example, we've not really done a model where we're advertising on the platform, like, hey, sponsor this, whatever, but it's more long term. It's more, okay, is in line with the brand, which still carries the values that I guess you carry through traditional media or as advertising. I don't know, I'm trying to figure it out myself. Please, if you have any suggestions, let me know how to effectively monetize digital media, because I do think that this is the future is here, and 100%. People need to come more into the space.
100%. And I wish you the best in that strategy. But to be honest, if anyone would like to do it, I was actually watching a friend of mine starting his podcast and said, I've been thinking about this for a very long time, but I was always just afraid of taking it to the next level, next step. So personally, I'll just say, like, if somebody forgets, what we're saying, the idea would be to see that the opportunity is here and just take advantage, take advantage of it and just
try
run.
it.
Run with it. Because, and as you go along, you just, you can tweak a few things here and there. It's like, okay, let's start changes here. Let's change this here, this perspective. Other than just saying, foundation. This is not working, so
we're just going to go and prune the tower. All right. I want to go back and try and relate this conversation we're having into the tech industry. And based on your experience. So currently as Africa's Regional Director at the Chief of Staff Association, what's your perspective on the evolving role of Chief of Staffs, particularly in startup or tech-driven organizations? Maybe before you even answer the question, could you give a bit of background in what a Chief of Staff is and what they do? Yeah,
that's quite interesting. So I learned this from my previous stints in the Office of the President, having worked under Chief of Staff and seeing how the Chief of Staff executed for the boss, basically getting things done for the boss. And I think that was very inspiring, because there's always so much talk in corporate or in government, but no one really gets the job done. So to sit behind somebody who would actually, have the mechanisms to just get the job done, for me was very inspiring. And I said, wait a minute, we should have a lot more of this in corporate Kenya. But how can we do more of this in corporate Kenya? People have executive PAs and they say, my PA will just do that. But the Chief of Staff role is a bit more strategic than a sort of an executive PA role. And they call them technical assistants. Okay. In corporate, some startups have Chief of Staff, yes. Some corporates will call it also strategic advisor, something like that. So, but ideally it's a Chief of Staff job. Don't forget 3 things: strategic communications, strategic operations, strategic initiatives. And if you tell that to any boss, I mean a CEO, president, cabinet secretary, any principal who has tons and tons of paperwork to deal with, tons and tons of, policy documents to look at, calls, emails, definitely you need a support system around the CEO's office, around the president's office. We call them the principals, ideally, because everyone in corporate likes to direct everything to the top. So I enjoy that there are some CEOs who've taken up this role really well, and they have inculcated chiefs of staff, and they sort of delegate some of those peripheral roles. It's not to say that the chief of staff will attend the board meeting on behalf of the CEO, no. But it's making sure that whatever is agreed on at the board meeting, the chief of staff can help execute it. Really, really deep strategic management stuff. Some CEOs are open to it. Some are still, mulling over the idea. But I'm so happy that top corporates in Kenya have even onboarded 2 chiefs of staff. One who's more outward facing and one who is more internal facing. I've seen in the UN as well. There's another one, special assistant. So this is not really an executive PA, but it's a special assistant who can literally walk into a meeting with the principal and take notes. Some even represent the principal in some meetings that maybe the principal is not able to do. So talking about technology, you can imagine this is such a busy role.
Yes.
So yeah, if you're taking notes, I walk around with my notebook, but I know at some point I never use it because you might just quickly want to type out, what's really happening. I like the use of AI companions, like you're in a meeting and you just want to get what are the top 3 items I need to get out of this meeting? I will go back to the boardroom and I'll tell the boss, this is what we're working towards. And that's really technology. So we always talk about tools. Under the association, we talk about tools. Okay, what tools do I use? Would
you say that has streamlined some of these processes for you?
Oh yeah. You definitely cannot afford to be manual. You just have to be really speed fast in terms of, okay, it's a 30-minute conversation or a meeting, and you literally have to get I usually like the 3 pointers, but in Kenya, when you say mambo ni matatu, people confuse that with other things. But, ideally, and for me, the rule of thumb is you just need to get the key action points.
And
what are the key action points?
Learn how to strategically execute them.
Yeah. So it's been pretty interesting. I think some people have approached me in terms of hey, I want to join the association, and definitely, check it out, the Chief of Staff Association online. You can be able to go around it. So yeah, there's just a lot more.
Would you say that, okay, based on your understanding, we did meet at the Siri Network Summit, and I'm just curious to know that, would you say that for startups, particularly in the startup landscape, in the tech landscape, this is a role that would be crucial for someone to really invest in if they're trying to scale their organization, and why would you say so?
I hands down. If you're a founder, co-founder, and you're still thinking about the idea, please just run with it. In fact, I'll tell the founder that if you've gotten a very good hire and you want to sort of use this role as sort of a leadership step, the chief of staff is a very good deep end to sink this person to check whether they can sink or swim. And I'll repeat that. You see a very good, and I know most CEOs like to hire from these Ivy League schools in terms of I have a chief of staff from Harvard, and it's very good to have as a management consultant, but at the same time you want these people to be leadership ready.
They need to.
You need to be leadership ready, because I've seen some transitions from a chief of staff to sort of a chief operations officer, and then they become deputy CEO, and then they become CEO. So from that chief of staff role, give yourself another 5 to 8 years. This person can literally be the next CEO.
They could be.
Based off on the exposure they've had.
That they have, and
with
working
the board,
very closely with
the investors, the public policy, or this person is really front and center.
Yes.
So as a CEO, as a co-founder, please, if you can have an opportunity, go for it.
Go for it.
Because again, it's about resources. Chief of staff is not cheap to hire. There's some who prefer, okay, let me just have a COO instead.
Yeah.
But the CEO will not really be sort of your right hand, because you say the chief of staff is
it's basically
CEO's
shadowing,
right
almost shadow work for the CEO when you're being able to handle things that he's not there. I think in this context, some would argue, okay, I'm just saying what I think some people might argue in the comments, why didn't you just get a co-founder instead of a chief of staff? But I think it's tailored towards what your specific needs are.
Yep.
And 100% there's value in having one, because as a founder, there's so many problems you go through in a day. If you don't have, I think this would be good for solo founders.
For sure.
Because then you don't have the school of thought of, okay, your co-founder is telling you this, combating this. And, getting a co-founder is almost like dating, someone who's going to really
Sorry, chief of staff writes a lot. Like, there's just a lot. Ideas moving all over the place. No, I mean, it's because imagine you have a lot of like balls, you're balancing many balls, like, okay, wait, exactly. Which ball will be priority to the boss? Like to handle at this point in time.
Yes.
Or to execute and make sure that things are done. Because remember, once you get into the boardroom, it's not about, stories. It's about where are we on this?
Can you
and if you can attach clearly a number, you just say, okay, this project is sort of 25% in, 50% done, 75% done. Those numbers sound really good to the board because you're actually attaching a number to it. So it's not about, it's just something up in the air. Or we'll get it done. That thing of, we'll get it done. How far are we on this? It's a key question that I know my former bosses have asked, and I'm like, somebody mentioned, and this was one of my previous bosses, he said, anytime we have a chat, I need a yes, no, or a number. Which is pretty interesting. Yes, no, or a number.
Done.
And so I think it's very cutthroat, and it explains a lot to what startups go through, man. Look, your funders who are trying to give you money, and some are also hunting you for results. So you really cannot afford to be, what can I say, verbose or too many words. You just have to be so direct and say, this is where we are at, and this is what the future looks like.
As you keep talking, it's making me think of those founders who are really, really good at what they do, but they're not natural media, PR people, or are not able to articulate their product as well as perhaps a chief of staff would do. And I think this would be the perfect people to have that interaction. You really underplay the value of having someone to handle things, especially when you're at the top, because a lot of the times when you're at the top, you see yourself as a perfectionist of some sorts, at least from my experience. And so it's either my way, most of the time it's my way, or and I feel from your description of the role of a chief of staff, you're able to have one conversation 1 minute long, and you have everything, and you're able to now run with it. And I think success doesn't necessarily come from you being the one doing the hard work. Hard work has never paid as much as being smart about it has, and so I think really think about, as a founder, as a startuppreneur, whoever, ecosystem player, like, yes, you're good at what you do, but if you have that right-hand man who's able to say, don't worry, I got you, what do you need? This, that, handled, it gives you so much peace of mind. You're able to focus on actually growing the business. You're able to make key decisions with someone that you trust alongside to help you make those sort of decisions that you need to make.
And I think just to agree on that one, the key thing for the CEO, co-founder, like, I'm really passionate about these guys, because it's very lonely at the top. Let's face it. However, times it can get too much. I mean, you have just a lot, and don't forget, I mean, you have your family. I mean, as I mentioned,
yes,
you have golf as well.
There's golf in the mix. We have a golf game that we're supposed to be playing soon.
It's a passion. I mean, the most CEOs like to play. Your friends are calling you, like, let's catch up over a round of golf, and you can't make time.
Yeah.
Because you've just not organized your office in such a way that you can get things done. If you're off air, I was gonna say, get other things done. But the idea is that, you can just execute for your boss. And simply that's about it.
That's it.
People don't want
They need to be rely on you to be able
And please,
to
I'm not watering down the need for an executive assistant. Because at times, even as you go along, the ops are very important. Make sure you get to the airport on time. Make sure you have the airport transfers. Make sure that the letter is signed properly. No spelling errors.
So that's not what you're focused
to the letter to the president and stuff like that. And all these things are very critical.
Yes.
In the overall scheme of things in the CEO's office.
Absolutely. And to tie this conversation together, based on, you've worked in both public and private sectors, what skills or kind of mindset do you say that someone needs to have to be able to thrive across these different sectors? You be able to be versatile, or just throughout your entire career journey?
Let's see. Top of mind, highly organized. Because remember, you have a lot of balls in the air. Remember the balls in the air? And you're like, okay, so which one am I catching? Which one can fall for now? And which one? So highly organized, like a strong communicator. Because remember, it's about internal communications and external communications. You need to communicate to your boss, and you also need to communicate to the people who are reporting to the boss, and also the people out there. So yeah, highly organized, strong communicator, and just a sucker for results. And just a sucker for results. It might not make you very, what's the word? It might not make you very popular around, the stakeholders in the CEO's office. But again, you'll just have to define the true north and say, okay, guys, this is a strategy we agreed on, and this is where we said we were going to be at. So why don't we just get things done? Yeah.
I really like that. Do you have any regrets throughout your journey that you wish to share with our audience?
Regrets?
Yes.
Wow. The regret is that I should have made the mistakes a bit early in life. Like, some corporate, learnings came a bit late in terms of just understanding corporate politics, corporate dynamics. There's a lot that comes into play with you being in an organization. I've worked in industries that have been very front and center, particularly in government relations. So knowing who to talk to, knowing how to address people in government. In fact, I was telling a friend, like, I wish I started my career in government, then I went into General Electric.
Now, how do you even do that contrast? Because when you're younger, getting a career in government seems like sometimes shooting yourself in the foot. True. Because you're not being paid.
This sort of level of excellence I've learned, especially being at the National Defense University, studying with the military folks, you need that discipline earlier on. And sorry to digress, we had our own former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, running for the AU chairperson. And one of the advisors said that we need more young people in foreign affairs.
Respectfully.
So there's going to be a demand for diplomacy, international relations students to join government. Why? Because you're realizing there is a I can't say there's a lack, there is insufficient foreign affairs professionals across different countries where Kenya is placed. So,
yes.
Because now we've just relaunched our diplomacy program. So for sure, there is a need for more. And if there's somebody out there who's in school and is wondering, okay, what exactly do I do? A degree in IR at this point is like...
Tumefikiwa. Okay, sorry. Wamefikiwa. Watu wa IR communications, our time to shine. They used
and
to
don't
call
forget,
us.
you can still inculcate, even if you've done tech, even if you've done like something totally different. Because, we need to get our foreign relations right. And the fact that Kenya has been on the map, like, look, there's a need now to have Africa represented in the United Nations Security Council.
Yes.
So for sure, there's going to be a demand for more diplomats in the near future. 5-10 years, I'm going to be with you.
We'll check back in. We'll roll this tape and we'll check back in.
Oh yeah. It's a big opportunity. And especially, what better way than somebody who has a very strong technology background and a bit of an understanding of the future of work, future of media.
Thank you.
And then they can also sit and be a diplomat. That's gonna be like a very...
because sorry to cut you short, because it's like, I completely agree with what you're saying, because I think something you've been vocal about is about this being the future. And I think as someone with a mindset, someone who works in the tech space and believes that they are building a product that is going to be evolved into what is the future of where we are now, is someone who already has a futuristic mindset, which is exactly a trait that you need as you work in government policy and advocacy.
Yeah.
And so if you're listening and you think, and I'd like to have conversations like this on the platform, because a lot of the conversations are very heavily oriented towards the tech space, the startup space, what people are doing, what founders are building, but not forgetting that there's a lot that goes behind all of this. Like, in case you don't have that zeal or that quality or that interest in being a founder yourself, perhaps you can have an interest in creating a change on the bigger front in the government and policy. and that still makes an impact in the space. And so thank you so much for sharing, honestly, everything that you have. I'm feeling inspired. Okay, look, what else can I apply for aside from what I'm doing in the tech space to just expand? Because I don't want to close myself in a box, and so should nobody be listening. That this is it, the beginning and the end of what I'm doing. Although there's value in being able to be targeted about what you want to pursue, there's also value in allowing yourself to be open-minded about what the possibilities are, as long as you're focused and you have strategy and you have ambition and whatever traits that are 100% feasible. You'll be able to make a placing for yourself.
100%. And I strongly recommend just having a sort of a 360 perspective, just seeing where the world is headed. Like I mentioned about, the African Union, what the future portends in terms of the security side.
Yes.
How technology is infusing on that. The conversation around the military circles is, are we ready for the next pandemic? As I mentioned, I'm currently studying on crisis and disaster management. Because of COVID, we're asking ourselves, are we ready for the next pandemic? Because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So it's gonna happen. But now, do we have more professionals who can sort of have that resilience?
Tie things together.
And that's really a lot of work of the chief of staff, because as a chief of staff, we also need to check, okay, wait, exactly, what is our risk? What's the risk like here? Is this thing gonna go like this or this side? So all this really determine a lot.
They do determine a lot.
So it's I told you about the book, Laban-Cliff at 40. So I think there's just a lot.
That's the name of the book.
Oh yeah. No. I'll come up with a better title for it. But I just feel like there's just a lot of inspiration to get out there. My life has not been all so linear. I've had my ups and downs as well. It's also to communicate that even as you can be out there, see LinkedIn, see my website, see everything looking good, there is sort of a whole baking process
to even get there in the first place.
It had to be the crucible a bit to make sure that you can get out there. So and here we are. Young, still vibrant, not giving up, pushing on. 100%.
Are you talking about you or me?
I'm just well, I don't think 35 is old. 36 is. It's just that I crossed the.
Okay, is it 35 or is it 36?
36. No, I'm just saying 36 because I'm in the 36th year.
Yeah.
I just turned 36.
Okay.
And of course, in Kenya, when you say the youth, you're deemed youth between the ages of 18 and 35. So.
Yeah. You're still youthish.
Oh, yes. And that's what I said about 40. So I feel like I have another 5 years.
5 years to write this story
say
and
exactly how
it.
this thing's gonna look like. Yeah.
Awesome. I think we're about to wrap up this conversation. One last thing I wanted to just ask you briefly, you can touch on it, is your other career. Also, you've mentioned you're a motorsport person. Laban, if you don't know, actually has been in the motorsport industry. Have you driven this in the WSR rallies?
Well, sadly not like actual driving, but we normally say as a co-driver, you're still a driver.
You're still in the...
because you have to really assess how this guy is going and advise him that, hey, you're a bit too fast or you're a bit too slow.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically you're controlling him, but controlling him from a pace note. That's a passion. I started very young. I was a mechanic. So that's a story I want to share. Like in Strath days.
There's lots of layers here that
the Strath days is quite interesting because, at times, you'll be like, okay, wait a minute. So I'm bored. Class ends at 3 p.m.
Yes.
And you're saying, okay, what else can I do?
Yes.
And there's a big opportunity to get into motorsport. So I sat down as a rally mechanic to support a team. And as you're going to see with WRC coming, lots of trucks, cars, like one team would have like some sort of 50 to 80 crew members.
Literally.
So you going there as a volunteer and just understanding the whole mechanics
of it
helps my mind sort of get into the motorsport angle. And when an opportunity to co-drive came about, I just jumped on it. So here we are, 10 years on, back to the seat.
I think what I'm taking from this conversation is, one, be an opportunist, two, be very strategic, and
start from anywhere. Look, somebody will say, so now what the question I get now is, I want to be a rally driver. You can't come from home and just sit in the car and be a rally driver. There's some some process, there's some baking that has to take place.
Yeah,
which for me was like, I mean, it was a deep end because I don't know, like I'm not studying mechanics, but I had to understand.
Yeah. Mechanics
like
to be able to
car mechanics and stuff like that, you know.
So being open-minded really about everything. Actually, before even brought in the rally conversation, I was going to say, based on how I met you being a moderator at Jasiri Network Summit, I think it's also important to mention to our audience that, look, this is something that I thought you were phenomenal at your job. I think you're a really good communicator. I always have a keen eye for people who I think communicate better than me, or really just it's natural. Like when you're moderating, it felt very natural, very clean, very crisp. You told one detail, you're able to take it and run through. And so just wanted you to speak a bit about that section in case people are interested in having you as well as a moderator. You can talk a bit about that.
That's a passion project, and I'm grateful for the feedback. Thank you so much. Jasiri Network, as you can tell from the clips, beautiful experience. I think we had fun, full day of having guys both in Kenya and the UK, just meeting right before Christmas. So people were so relaxed. I remember the activities we were doing in the afternoon, like some bit of a stretch game here and there. For me, what I really liked was the whole networking, having people come together, which I feel like it's a strength. So I need to leverage on it, ensure that I can have, executives. Like I like the people who worked in London and they're able to say, hey, I want to start something home. I want to start my own thing.
Exactly.
Case in point of Nancy and, the network she's began. And really big jobs, to be honest. So to find somebody saying, hey, I want to do my own thing, also speaks into the passion that's saying, okay, how about the Headhunter Africa? How about My Tech Story Africa?
Absolutely.
So it means that people are really trying to have this entrepreneurial spirit, just going over and above the corporate. Like you've scaled your corporate ladder, your
what next?
CFO, chief HR, chief communications, and then ask yourself, what next? Thank you for that feedback, and hit me up if you want to. I mean, there are lots of conferences coming. We have the Africa CEO Forum. I should be there. I just came in from the East Africa Healthcare Forum. I'm happy. I think the region is really, there's a buzz of
a network, there's community building happening.
And people want to do it in Nairobi.
We had Africa Tech Summit and that was huge. Literally, I've been to Africa Tech Summit, maybe not the summit itself, but I've been around Nairobi when it's happening the past 3 years. This has been the biggest one yet, in my opinion. I mean, you're walking into. Actually, I was here at Gastro, but there was a mixer happening here. So full, and everyone you're talking to is so different. I'm from Nigeria, I'm from Canada, I'm from Kenya, I'm from South Africa, and all with a common goal of trying to make a big change. And
I am so
grateful.
We're
in a good place.
And I'm happy for Kenya that we can host such events.
And people look at. I mean, they call Nairobi the Silicon Savannah of Africa. So
we're so accessible. I mean, just flying, to the summit and that. There's a big opportunity around that. So, I think for me, it's just now trying to combine all this. Remember, career, corporate MCing and doing the rallying. So that's why I thought about the book, to just speak into the youth, because the next project for me for 2025, I'm thinking of just lowering the ladder. Because at times, and this is something that's very selfish on corporate executives who, I'll not mention names, but they know themselves. The people who say, well, I'm CFO and I earned my stripes, so why would I help somebody else? Or why would I mentor?
They need to go through the same journey I went through.
Yeah, but still, lower the ladder. Give people your journey. So that people know it's not a microwave project. People just expect, oh, wait, this guy just showed up to be CFO now, or showed up to be CTO, or CIO. It takes a whole sacrifice to just get where you're at. So and I mean, all work with no play makes Jack a dull boy. So
let's meet at the course.
Find me at the golf course. Find me at the rally coming soon, March. It's just, I mean, life is just so beautiful.
Life is so much
there's a lot to look.
So don't close yourself. I mean, I'm a founder. This is all the beginning and the end. In fact, this is why we also started the after hours segment. A lot of the major conversations happen after hours anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, we are in the office, whatever, but when we have that side one cocktail, here's what's going on. When we go on the course and we play our 9 holes or just the range, you just never know the conversations that are happening. So be open-minded, be able to interact with people when you have the opportunity to, and try different things.
Take risks, give out that card, exchange cards, email that person you've been wanting to email. Just get out there. There's just a lot. And trust me, the year is so young, and I really, pray that people achieve their targets.
Yes.
Because the way you have resolutions like towards the end of deck, and then now you would say, this is how I'm going to start the year. And as soon as you start, boom.
Things, one falls, now you're like
you have this. And the universe kind of conspires to stop you. But you really have to make sure that you get out of your shell.
I'm the captain.
And just go for it.
Yeah. Oh, I love this conversation, Laban. Thank you so much. I think we're going to wrap up here. Guys, once again, the drink is Tanqueray, and make sure that you're buying it, or if you're having a good time with your friends, that is the drink of choice. Remember to drink responsibly. I have had a pleasure of having Laban-Cliff Onserio on this platform, and with that, I think that's it from me. Do you have anything else you want to close the episode by saying?
Stay sharp. Stay focused, all on God.
Amen to that. And so, yes, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribing from wherever you're listening from, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye.